I know I'm part of the Reds guy here at Chatterbox, but I'm not ready to turn the page completely to the Cincinnati Reds. I think that there's still some Bengals stuff to be had, and certainly the draft is one of the biggest topics of conversation that there is once your season ends, right? I'm not a huge mock draft guy because ultimately you just don't know what's available to you. And until you know what you think might be available to you, then what's the point? Is it just fantasy? Is it just fun to discuss? Is it just fun to just throw rhetoric at a wall and figure out what might stick? That seems to be what it is. And if that's the case, by all means, be my guest. But I am of the mindset that instead of talking about players, right, a specific player, what areas of emphasis or more or less, what do you think that the draft strategy should be? Are you guys a draft best player available type of guy no matter what, under any circumstance? Or are you of the mindset that you have one or two positions and no matter what, you're going to try to take best player available at one of those two positions? And if I were to ask that question, you can answer the first one, yes. But if you didn't answer the first one and you say you're taking best player available no matter what, I do want to know, what would be your top two positions of need if you were to put them in order? Anybody can take the reins. We'll start with Casey because I feel like, Casey's in a spot where he probably is the most notable or the knowledgeable about this subject, but he also kind of never gets his word in because we have other people in this office that talk a lot. Casey?
Thank you, Trace.
No problem.
For me, the Bengals have two very glaring needs. Actually, three. They have three really glaring needs.
Are you a best player available person first, no matter what?
I generally am when it comes to the draft.
Okay.
However, I don't think the Bengals will have that option available to them because of all the holes that are on the roster coming up. They've got a lot of money to play with. Maybe they proved me wrong, but, we're losing two receivers. We're losing a right tackle.
More than likely losing two receivers.
More than likely losing two receivers, a right tackle, and we have a defensive tackle hole that includes a run stopper, like a nose tackle, and just a penetrating three-tech. I think B.J. Hill's just not good enough. You need more there. You need more depth there. So for me, in order, it goes right tackle because we need offensive linemen that can be more athletic, can make a difference, then receiver, then that defensive tackle. I think those three are the biggest needs for this Bengals team right now at this very second.
Yeah, to answer the first question that Trace proposed, are you best player available? I think the circumstances create what you do, right? If the best cornerback in the draft falls to where the Bengals are, even though the Bengals might not desperately need a cornerback, how can you let that go?
Any position besides quarterback, to be clear.
Right, yeah. So cornerback, I said.
Okay, my bad.
Even though it's not a position you need, sometimes things like that fall in your lap and you're just like, okay, fine. Yeah, we'll take this cornerback. But for the positions that the Bengals need to address, obviously the offensive line has been a revolving issue. Jonah Williams is going to need to be replaced at the right tackle. And then what's going to happen with T. Higgins is a big thing. We can franchise and trade him. Are we going to franchise him and just hopefully he plays and you just get one more year and watch him walk out the door next year? Tyler Boyd is seemingly gone. So in the first probably the first two rounds, the Bengals need to address a pass catcher, a weapon for Joe Burrow, someone to help Jamar Chase, whether that be a top tight end, whether that be another wide receiver. In the first two rounds, I would really like to see the Bengals go after a pass catcher. And then also, offensive line and, as Casey said, interior defensive line, because it seems like though the secondary has had its issues, where they're going to go next year is just to let these guys develop because they use so much draft capital, because they spent money on the linebackers. It seems like we're going to be rocking with the same crop of people. That is Jordan Battle, Dax Hill, Cam Taylor, Britt. I think we're going to need another cornerback.
Yep.
Awuzie is probably going to be gone, but we do have DJ Turner. So, there's probably going to need to be some depth in the secondary that they'll address late in the draft. But in the first few rounds, certainly they need to get a pass catcher. Without a doubt, they need to get someone that Joe Burrow can throw the ball to help supplement at least Tyler Boyd, probably Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. And then you're going to need to protect them, and you're going to need some run stoppers on the interior line. So that's how I would like the first 3 rounds to go.
I would go wide receiver or tight end, like Reed just said. And then I would also go, like Casey said, offensive line. And then immediately after that, defensive tackle.
Yeah.
At some point, and again, as bad as the secondary has been, a lot of the giant plays have been resulting of the broken play that C.J. Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, they break free, nobody's pressuring the quarterback, and then he has 15 seconds to chuck it up downfield where a receiver has inevitably broken free from coverage.
One of the good things that the Bengals have is versatility in the secondary. I know we kind of danced around the bush here and kind of pointed out that the secondary has not been good this year.
It's not been good. It's very young. It's very young.
I do think if the right guy at corner fell down to them, a for sure thing, just a guy that's not supposed to be there at corner, if it dropped down to them, he was going to be a shutdown corner. I think they would take him just to, one, bolster that side. I don't think they have a true shutdown corner as of yet.
Yeah.
I know Cam Taylor-Britt has showed some flashes, but I don't trust that just yet. I think he did a lot of improving, but I don't think there's anyone on that secondary that deserves to be given a pass. Like, yeah, this guy is going to be a starter for sure. None of those guys have yet proved themselves, so I think they would take a chance on an all-star corner. But
to defend the secondary, we out of the 4 secondary spots, the 2 safeties and the 2 cornerbacks that play on any given time, only one guy was a veteran. Only one guy this past year was a veteran, and that was Awuzie.
Yeah.
Dax Hill, even though it was his second year, didn't play at all last year. Jordan Battle, Cam Taylor-Britt. Cam Taylor-Britt played a little bit last year, like probably played
towards the end
a third of the season. So this is a very young secondary that they're probably just going to roll the dice with, whether it's good or bad. They'll probably just roll the dice on those guys, continue to develop, because there is several second-round picks and several first-round picks in that secondary that are like, listen, we've got to live with the drafts that we've made, and we've got to start addressing some other needs, or this team's gonna go in the tank early.
Yeah, usually when it comes to the draft, the bottom 16, they usually should just go BPA because they don't have the roster to necessarily compete just yet. Those are the guys that are outside the playoffs that are still trying to build up a roster. You just take BPA and move on with your day. Bengals are currently sitting at 16, right in the middle of the draft. They could be as high as 18, I think.
That's the highest that they can go. Yeah.
Or as low as 12. So they're in a tricky spot. Yeah, go ahead.
If we get a tackle, like if we get a top tackle in the first round too, like 12th pick or something like that, I'd be more than thrilled about that. Like if it's interior lineman wouldn't excite me, but a tackle or a wide receiver in the first round would be great. And then in the second round we can go opposite, get some depth late in the draft for the secondary and things along those natures. So I think it's pretty clear that it's weapons, tackle, interior linemen are the biggest needs.
Some of the names that are just out there for the Bengals: Dallas Turner, Alabama; J.C. Latham, tackle from Alabama; Cooper DeJean, corner from Iowa. He plays a little bit of safety as well. Leonard Taylor, a defensive tackle; Nate Wiggins, Clemson corner. Those are just some names to think about at the current moment. None of this is set in stone yet either.
I was gonna say,
like the names thing, like we don't know their RAS scores, which I'm a big fan of. We don't know how they're gonna perform Senior Bowl, or maybe they
a lot of time.
played.
lot of time to talk about
every
this.
single year. The NFL draft has a situation where someone falls. Someone falls. And
Miles Murphy.
That was my point, is that the Bengals, if you told them they were going to draft Miles Murphy before the draft started, they would have never believed that in a million years. And that's where the whole, obviously, the rankings of what the Bengals perceive to have value is the area in which I always keep pushing back on this organization and saying that needs to be a little bit better, because I think the best draft strategy that there is, and I think it's one in which pretty much every team almost operates within, maybe a few teams don't, but I would think that you would have a set list of guys and you have a set grade of positions. And you know there's certain positions where you feel good about the depth at that certain position versus other positions. And if you realize and you feel like there's only 2 real tackles in the draft that you think have a can't-miss grade on, and one of them fall to you, then you rather take that, even though you might not believe that's the best player available, over top of a defensive back to where you have 9 guys graded at about the same level, and you feel like you can get one of those other guys in another round. It all comes to perceived value. And that's where this Bengals team finds themselves in, is where is the perceived value and what positions are most important and how big of a hole really is it? The secondary we have discussed all year long about how it's been a little bit of an issue, yes. But they've already put an investment there.
Correct.
And you have to trust that your evaluation a year, 2 years ago is going to be right when those guys get themselves firmly in the league. Next year, you'd like to think that a lot of these young guys will take a step forward and they won't be the holes that they were perceived to be now. The area in which you cannot miss on, and we discussed this yesterday, is you just can't miss, period. To me, guys, don't believe that it's, and I know I asked the question, tackle, I'm not bought in on the wide receiver thing. We'll discuss that in just a second. But between a tackle and a defensive tackle, I don't think it makes that big of a difference on either one. You just have to get it right. You can't miss again. And I'm not saying Myles Murphy's 100% a swing and a miss. But for every Myles Murphy, and I know the complete opposite is a Micah Parsons. And I'm not suggesting you need to find Micah Parsons because that's maybe a diamond in the rough type situation. But you got to hit. And that is going to be something in which I think this front office is going to be held to a high standard because you can only go up to the plate so many times before the honeymoon wears off. You've seen it with Ellie De La Cruz if you want to jump over positions. Everybody loved Ellie. And then all of a sudden, struggle, and then it kind of wore itself off. I'm just saying that this is the front office's most important draft because if they miss on a couple of these guys, all hell's going to break loose. And there's going to be some tough questions to be asked. How many other franchises in the National Football League? Now, they're going to ruin it because they're going to go out and beat Cleveland this weekend, and they're going to dispel what I'm getting ready to say. But how many other NFL organizations do you think that there are where you could go winless in your division, not win a single game, and nobody loses their job? Not a single person. Status quo, keep it moving, everything is good around here. I don't know if there's another one, if we're being honest.
Well, hey there! Thanks for watching that video. I hope you liked it. I'll tell you what, if you like that one, you're going to love this one, and you're going to really like this one down here. You're going to like them both. Like, comment, subscribe, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Thank you very much. Have a great day.